A White House insider leaked Donald Trump's schedules. In fact, 3 months worth of Donald Trump's schedules. And it made it clear that he gets a lot of free time, which is given the euphemism of executive time. The schedules, according to Axios, which broke this story, covered nearly every working day since the midterms. And they show that Trump has spent around 60% of his scheduled time over the past 3 months in unstructured executive time. 60%, so more than half of his time is doing unstructured executive time, which we all know what that means. It means tweeting, watching cable news, dilly-dallying, and it's usually in the morning. Trump, an early riser, usually spends the first 5 hours of the day in executive time. Each day's schedule places Trump in location, Oval Office, from 8 to 11 a.m. Now, Oval Office is where he would allegedly be working during his executive time, but it turns out that he's actually hanging out in the White House residence where the work doesn't happen. And we have this fun little bar graph to show you how the time is divided. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so it gives you the amount of hours he spent during this 3 months in executive time, 297 hours and 15 minutes. When it came to meetings, it was 77 hours and 5 minutes, and 38 hours for lunch, 20 minutes for events, whatever that means. So you get the picture. The majority of his time is spent doing nothing.
Okay, look, let me break that chart down a little bit further, okay? So first of all, that's over a 3-month period, all right? So I probably spend 77 hours in meetings in 1 week, okay? Let alone in 3 months. And I run a small business. So now, the 60% is so-called executive time, which is now my new favorite euphemism, except for what Sarah Huckabee Sanders is gonna add as a corollary in a minute. But notice that the rest of it isn't all work. There's lunch in there, there's travel. What is that, like from his residence to the Oval Office, for how long it takes him to walk, or whatever, no, legitimate travel to, etc. But you could work during the travel. They're like, no, whoa, that's travel, okay? We can't bother the president's precious little 3 IQ points with having him work during travel. So now their main excuse is, well, by the way, just to finish up what Anna was saying, 8 to 11, he's supposed to be in the Oval Office. He never goes. He's still in the residence, still watching Fox, right? And so his first meeting is usually at 11 o'clock. But a lot of times that doesn't happen either. And it's either supposed to be a national security briefing where he's like, all right, whatever, what's going on now? Don't make it over a page, okay? And I want some pictures in there. Or a meeting with his chief of staff. I mean, if I'm the president of the United States and I got up at 5 in the morning, right? I'm gonna wait 6 hours for my chief of staff to come in and tell me what we're doing that day.
It's crazy.
Or what's going on in the world.
It's insane. It really is. But okay, so the White House and some of Trump's allies, I guess, came out and said, no, this doesn't really paint the full picture of what executive time is. Because oftentimes Trump will take meetings that he doesn't want the public to know about during his executive time.
Yeah, probably with donors.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel so much better that he's having these secret meetings that he doesn't want the public to know about during his executive time. Yeah, look, I think it's clear that he's not someone who has any type of curiosity about the world around him, curiosity about different policies and what works, what doesn't. He's a one-pager kind of guy, as Senator Lindsey Graham said, a Republican.
Who is a big backer of this.
Right.
Okay, so let me just say about the secret meetings he's having. Other reporting has clearly indicated what those are, which is calling his buddies. And one of my favorite parts of that is that Trump is always looking around to see where the leaker is. He's like, there's terrible leaking going on here. And people recognize after a while, the leaker was inside the house. It was Trump calling up his idiot buddies that he goes golfing with and telling them, and then they would leak to the press. That's what he uses for his secret meeting during the executive time.
It's crazy. So
national embarrassment.
So some other fun tidbits that we learned through Axios. The day after the midterms, Trump's schedule had 30 minutes for a chief of staff meeting and more than 7 hours for executive time.
Dude, you just got your ass handed to you. The Democrats picked up 40, now maybe 41 seats, a historic landslide election for the opposing party. You worked a half an hour the next day? You worked a half an hour the next day. That's unbelievable. I mean, maybe you have. I don't know. Have you ever gone to work and worked half an hour? And if you didn't you feel a little guilty? Or if you don't like your boss or your work, did you feel like, yeah, I stuck it to the man? But working half an hour, that's unbelievable. And he has no ability to work, to plan, to do homework, to study, to understand the world.
Look, he needed those 7 hours to sulk and feel sorry for himself.
Totally.
So you know what? Take that time, Trump. And by the way, I'm not even complaining. I mean, would I prefer that he's a super, a hyperactive president who's constantly destroying things? I mean, he's already doing that, but imagine how worse it would be, how much worse it would be if he didn't take as much executive time, if he didn't watch as much cable TV. One other thing I wanted to mention is the response from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which was hilarious. She says, President Trump has a different leadership style than his predecessors, and the results speak for themselves. Yes, they do.
Agreed.
They certainly do speak for themselves.
I think she said that on purpose, man. I think everybody's counting down to when do we get out of here, right? And so she's like, oh, I don't want to tell you they're great. I'm just gonna say the results speak for themselves.
Then she says this. While he spends much of his average day in scheduled meetings and calls, there is time to allow for a more creative environment that has helped make him the most productive president in modern history.
Oh yeah, no, but my favorite time there's the creative environment.
Yes, he's a creative guy.
No, listen, man. Sometimes I just need to get 7 hours in a workday to just sit on my ass to create a creative environment. Come on, if you said that to your boss, and by the way, we're Donald Trump's boss. He represents the people of the United States of America. If you went to your boss and was like, no, look, it seems like I didn't work those 7 hours, but you have to be fair to me. I was creating a creative environment.
I'm kind of into it. I think I might try it out.
Yeah, well, how do you think that plays out for you guys? Okay, no, he's a child. He doesn't want to do his homework. He has the most important job in the world, and he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't care. He has no intellectual curiosity. And by the way, that's why he's a serial bungler. So not only does he screw up US foreign policy and domestic policy, but he also screws up his own plans. That's why he's so bad at his job. They're like, hey, Donald Trump, why are you declaring a national emergency to get funding for the wall? I don't know, because I didn't think about it for 2 years. Well, you had all that executive time to think about it. Okay, in those creative environments that you created, did it not occur to you for 2 years you didn't ask funding for the wall? That all you asked was for tax cuts for the rich? That didn't occur to you? So if you couldn't cook that up in your executive time, what are you doing on your executive time? As usual, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a hardcore MAGA guy. You know he's not working. You know he's a bum. And you like that bum because he hates the same people you hate, okay? But own it, that's not a smart guy. That's not a hardworking guy. There is no secret work being done in creative environments. And everyone in the country knows it.
I've noticed that he's been pretty, because remember when he first got elected, I felt like every day, several times a day, there was one shocking thing that he did after the next. But he's running out of political capital and it's great. So even if he wants to do things, I mean, he's gonna come up against a lot of pushback that I don't think he had in the beginning of his term.
Yeah, so apparently they're furious about this leak. And one of the things that it indicates is that there are still staffers inside the Trump White House trying to warn us. Be careful, the president's an idiot and he doesn't do anything. And so that leak is coming from inside the house. And I love this White House official comment. He's always calling people, talking to people. He's always up to something. It's just not what you would consider typical structure. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.